Morning, morning. Right, so we're ready to finish off this acrylic pastel. This is New York, Central Park, winter, and I'm just going to continue to try and get the trees in a bit stronger, and then gradually build the picture up. So I'll stay at the top of the canvas. Hi, Alice and Janet. You all right? Alan's here in the studio watching as well, drinking me coffee. So, Ken, morning Ken. So I'll stay with the camera up here at this level, so we get this area done, and then gradually we'll move down to get the bridge and the water done. So I'll swap over to the other camera. It's not going to take as long. Swap over to the main camera. So this is the main view, and like I say, I'll lift the canvas up when we get to the bottom area. But at the moment I just want to try and get some sharpness into these foreground trees, which is difficult when you've got thick pastel on. Like I said before, if you're doing a landscape behind, you're better off doing the trees as a solid unit and then punching holes in for the sky, leaving bits of trees, etc. But it's more difficult to do when you've got a lit building behind. So there's a big patch of tree there which I don't like, so I'll have to lose that a bit. So I'm going to try with a pastel pencil just to put some more concrete bits in, stronger bits in, and I'll see what that sort of does. So rather than draw, I'm going to sort of flick it in so that it doesn't come too hard. Oh, where we are there, I'll have to take it down a bit for you. There we go. Right, so I'm going to sort of flick this in and just try and create some more finer branches. So I'm just sort of flicking in like that. When you're doing the trees and branches, don't have big strong branches and then things coming out at the side. You want them to be sort of a gradual lift up. You don't want 2 or 3 coming out at the same side, so you have a crow's foot like look. So, but here it's just getting, and I might trace a bit of colour over it afterwards, just to drag a little bit of softer pastel over parts of it. So at the moment I'm just sort of building up and darkening some of the branches a bit thicker here and there. Don't want to lose the whole effect of the light behind, but I just want to get a feeling of stronger foliage, tree trunk. See there, the pastel is that thick just on there that this thing, instead of drawing a line, is actually dragging through it. Can you see just there? If I sort of do it slower, so it's just sort of dragging through because the pastel's stronger just there. So all I can do is just make a mark that you can see, but it's just very, very light effect. You see it much better when you come onto the sky behind. So we get, there's a big long trunk branch coming up here through here, and what I might do is put some little bits of snow on them so that they stand out a little bit. Can you see? You can see it in that sky, but you can't see it on there because a little bit. Depends on, if I just do a few flicks, you might, yeah, a few little flicks rather than trying to draw it, just to get that effect in. And then I'm going to put a bit more light behind it afterwards so that it shines through, so you can get the light shining through it. So we're drawing in the tree. It wants to come, what have I got? For some reason I keep getting a preview over the top of my picture. Don't know why that is. It's all set out. Right. So little strokes just to create these finer branches here and there. Like I said, that's a bit thick, so I'll put something in between to thin it out in a second. But at the moment I'm just concentrating on trying to get the really thicker branches into the sky. just to break the light up a little bit. Got that one, that's quite a strong one there, and you've got that one in there. Coming down here, catching the bottom of the tree stump there. And then you've got a long one just coming out there. Might not show so much on the screen, but it's there on the canvas. I can see it on the canvas. To be honest, you don't want them to be solid black going on the outside edge. You just want little flicks. You don't want anything too solid. And I will put some light in behind to make it stand out in other places. Get that tree. So over here you've got quite a broader set of branches, and you've got snow on them, so we can put some white on them to sort of shape them up a little bit. Just dropping down and overhanging like that. Quite a few just coming in front of that. These buildings here are in the distance, that's why I haven't put them in so strong. I want them to feel as though they're farther back. Right, so get them in. Now you want a few suggestions of trees farther back, just at the edge of the park. So one or two. It's just a pastel pencil. This pit pastel. Just suggesting some trees at the back. Just in there like that. And one or two just slightly broader, just through there. And even one just sort of coming down into snow, so it's sort of just a bit nearer. A little bit of shadow off that. Right, I'll come back in a second and put some white in, but I'm going to do this tree over this side now. So the same principle. I just need to sharpen the point up because I've lost the point. I've lost the point of it all. Just sharpen the point up a bit, just so I get an edge. Right, so we just want this to just sort of stick out a little bit over here like that, just little flicks. Sharpen up some thicker ones here. It all depends on how much pastel is on the surface of the paper behind. If there's a lot like over here, you can't get the pencil to take so much, but this one seems to be a little bit flatter, so you can get the pencil line to flick in a little bit. I know there's a bit of tree coming out from the left, but I'm not bothered about that. And again, we'll put a little bit of light snow on the tree, but we'll also lighten just behind it so that it stands out a bit better. And in the same effect, you want just a suggestion of tree trunks in the background on them trees that's farther away. So just a few flicks just to suggest foliage, etc. Gallery doors open downstairs, so you might hear some street noises, people shouting around. Right, that looks all right. Just suggestions. We've got some people to put in here. There's some people with brollies. So right, so I think that's all right. I'm quite happy with that there. Just strengthen that a bit. And what I need to do now is to actually put a little bit of sense of light just behind these trees here. So I'm going to use I want to get that glow just behind. So I'm just going to use a little sort of grey, nothing too heavy, but just a sort of a little bit of grey, and just suggest a little bit of light. I'm just going to blend it a fraction, so it's just as though you can see in between some of the trees, and then just one or two flicks in amongst the branches and farther up. The whole idea is just to create a blur. So I'm just touching them in with my finger, and then the odd one just in between a branch here and there. So it just looks as though you can slightly see through. The best way probably is not to get it too strong. I'm just going to get a duller pastel and with a sort of a flatter stroke, not putting pressure on, just with a flatter stroke holding the pastel on. I'm sort of just creating a sense of light in amongst them trees that's just there. So do you feel as though you can see through them? I'm just sort of tracing it on. I'm not putting any great pressure on. I'm just sort of touching into the surface. So you just create leaving the tree trunk shown, but just creating a sense of glow. And if you do that just to the side of this main tree trunk, pull it away from it, here and there, you can emphasize the tree just a little bit down there and wipe that away. So I'm just putting that sense of light so the tree itself gets established a bit more down there. And I'll put some little spots of light in after as well, so you can see through it. I'll do the same over here, but I want it to be a bit more sort of grey feel to it. So I want just that little bit through in between. That tree trunk, that branch there's just too thick, so I'm just going to trace a little bit of light in between it and split it up so it looks like more like individual branches rather than a big one. And just dusting in amongst the tree, just that little bit. I'll darken that up just to create a sense of, I've got to get my hand in past the camera, just to create a sense of light in places. And if you can do it either side of the branches, then you can make the branches stand out a bit better. Doesn't need a lot. Janet, I'll tell you why, Janet. I'll tell you why the microphone, I haven't got the microphone on. Sorry about that. Now you're making me get hold of my shirt with pastel fingers, which I'm doing. Is that better? Is that better? The microphone was on, but it wasn't attached to me. So let me know if that's better. Otherwise I'll have to figure out why it's not working. Forgetting what I'm doing now, Janet. Right, just where I put some of them light, I'm just going to emphasize with the black pencil some of the branches going in between that light here and there. So So I'm just sort of hitting some harder strokes. Just in between. It's alright, as long as you can hear me, Janet. You don't have to apologise. I presume you can hear me now. Right, what I want to do is put, you can hear fine, right? I've attached the microphone to my shirt, but as Alan can attest, I've now got pastel all over my shirt where I held the mic. Sorry, I just need to look and see, get a little bit of flick into there. Right, I'm going to put just a sense of white. I'm not going to use white. I don't want the snow to jump out there. I'm going to just drop my pencil, I'll get it after. I'm going to use a sort of a grey feel to it. Don't want it to be bright white, so just a little bit touched on the top of some of the branches like that, just fine touches here and there. So you're just creating a sense of snow onto some of the edges. There's quite a big one just here, so just along here. Not just where, generally you get the snow lying just where the joints are, where one branch leaves another. Don't want to overdo it too much, but I just want to get that little sense of snow on. If I do it too much up here, it'll affect the light of the picture behind, so I don't want to be dragging snow too much up into that area there. So just the odd little touch is all I want. A lot stronger just where it joins that main trunk there. A little bit just through there. Right, I'll do this one as well. I don't want so much on this one, just odd little bit just in the sort of where the branches sort of split out. I think that looks all right. I can't see really. All right, that's definitely blacker, so that's all right. Right, I need now. I'm going to put bounce some more light inside this picture now. So I'm going to just add more light effects to it. And like I said, when you're doing this, don't just put one exact spot of light. Put a blur. You want to feel as though the light is like blurring out of the windows, so you get a light haze out. So you have a slightly darker, like an orangey colour or a yellow, and then an accent of white here and there, or an accent of yellow here and there. Don't paint just dots of pure colour. It won't look right. I mean, I haven't bothered about I haven't gone square properly. I haven't put them in dead neat. I've just put them in to show them through. So I want some showing through here and a bit more through here, and then maybe the odd ones just down into here. So I'm going to get just, like I say, orangey colour, orangey pastel, and just create a few more lights here and there. So and like I say, you're creating a blur. Don't try and paint it too sharp at this stage. Just get these blurs of light going, and you can hit some odd ones just down in amongst it. You don't have to get exactly the windows. as they want. Actually, you wouldn't see that much down there because this building is set back behind them trees, but you will see bits of light in the distance. Just putting them in, and then we'll add some more lighter ones in a second. Just put a row just about here. An odd one, just have an odd one, like I said, that somebody's stayed back. And then you want a yellow into them, or a very light ochre, depending what sort of intensity you want. So into them there with a very light touch of ochre, just hitting it really, so that you're leaving the blur around it. You're not trying to make everything dead bright. So these orange ones over here, just a little touch in, just to suggest a more intense feeling of light. We did on Tuesday, we did put some whites in some of them where you get a really harder glow, but coming down into the shadows, you just want a touch. You don't want them to be jumping out bright white. I'll put a window in there for somebody who's on overtime. I don't know whether to put it. I will put a couple just up into here, but just toned down. I don't want them to be bright. So I'm just going to suggest one or two. Just up in that area there, and I'm not going to do anything else with them. Just going to leave them as a window. Now over on this side, we want a little bit more glow just down this area here, so you just want to feel a little bit more intensity of light just flicking through some of them there, so you just get that edge to the building, not that one, because that wants to look as though it's in the distance. One or two just to the other side, like that. Right, now you want some glow in parts of the background, so nothing too strong, just a sense of, probably could be street lights behind the trees in the distance. Do you know what I mean? Up behind them hedges there, not office lights, but feeling of lamps, street lamps kicking around. That's all right. Don't want too much into there. You can get carried away and add lights all over the place. But what I'll do is with this, I'll look at it, and when it's finished, I'll decide whether to actually put any more in. But I don't want to overdo that light feeling. Just a couple so you can see through the trees. Right, I'll raise the edge up a bit. Mind that wire. And we'll sort the bridge out. I just want to get a dark line into the edge of that tree there. Use a bit of, I haven't got much in the way of black pastel at all. I'll just see if I can just put a bit more strength just on the edge of that tree. I've got the minutest bit of black pastel, which will just flake just in there. That's all right, that's the last of the black pastel. Right, and just put in, I'm putting pencils down. There it is. Putting pencils down and losing them. Just want to emphasize that tree there, that's sort of in the snow in the front. Right, we're okay. This bridge it has two pillars on the side, so you need a little bit of snow on the pillars. So I've got white somewhere, but I don't want pure white. What you want is just the columns on the edge of the pillars just catching a bit of snow like that, and because there's one on the other side, you can see it just like that on the edge, and the same just over here on that side. Now go across the top of the bridge and get a little bit of light in, but I wouldn't use white. I would use a very light ochre so that you don't have too much of a white edge, and just sort of take it across. And get the shape of the top of the bridge going over. I'll alter this dark underneath so that you can see it afterwards. So I'm just going to put a bit of yellow into the yellow ochre into that white so it's not so bright. Just creating that edge. Then I'll darken just underneath in parts. You need a real dark, and it's difficult to get when you haven't got a black. You need a real dark. But what I'm going to do, because I need to get this sharp black underneath here. So you've got this arch, so it's sort of coming from about here, where you can see under the arch over to there like that. So that area there would be black, or as near as you want it to be black, because that is the underneath of the bridge. You won't see the underneath at this side because you're looking at an angle, but you'll see the underneath at that side. So I'm going to lighten this bridge up a little bit so that it catches the eye better. In the meantime, I'm just going to trace underneath there to warm that bridge up, to warm that snow up in the background a little bit. A little bit of tracing here and there. Right, want to lighten the bridge, but I don't want it to be a solid black silhouette, so I'm going to get just a little bit of browny colour and just trace into it a bit in sort of stabs, just to create the sense of the brickwork, and get the stabs to sort of leave the black silhouette, which you can do in a second, but just so you're leaving little bits of edges down there. So just getting that curve of the bridge so that you see the underneath. You all right? Yeah. So that's the underneath of the bridge. There you can see the darker line just going across like that into there. Right, we want to add a little bit of snow on the edge, but again, you don't want it to be bright white. You just want I want to dull this snow down. This is too bright over here, but I don't want that to be bright white snow. So a sort of a bluey grey, really. If I can find a bluey grey, I'll do that. There you go. So all you're doing is just creating some snow on the ledges of some of the brickwork, the arch, sort of the arched part that's coming round the outside of the bridge. Don't make it a big line, but just sort of flick in some little bit. As it's coming down, the snow will still be resting on the crevices, a little bit of the stonework on the tops and down the side that's facing up. So you would get just that little bit of stonework here and there, and just an odd little patch, just blur in an odd little patch here and there. So you just get, I'll darken that a bit. So you just get a little sense of snow resting on some of the bridge. Just want to darken underneath there a bit. don't want the line, and just darken there where I smudged it with my hand. And then 1 or 2 flicks of lines down for some of the stonework, so just little flicks angling round the bridge like that. Just creating a sense of texture. Right. What I want now is snow along is land along the bottom. So where the snow is, I don't want it to be solid snow all the way. I want a few breaks of colour into it, sort of a bit of the burnt umber. Just so you got a feeling of a little bit of land just underneath some of the snow, just like that. So you just blur into that edge so the snow is just on the edge like that. And just thickening out little patches of snow here and there. It's where the snow sort of melted on the edge where the water is. Create a dark reflection underneath. Because looking down, you will see down the reflection of the underneath of the bridge. So you can just create, but don't make it too prominent. So I'm putting it in, and then I'm sort of just rubbing it down to blend it in a little bit, so that the reflection isn't massively overdue, too strong. A little bit of stronger edge here and there. Like I said, I want to darken that snow down. The snow's too bright over on the left-hand side. If it's too bright, it's just going to drag your eye over there a bit. So I just want to tone that down, to grey it down a little bit. So I'm just rubbing a soft grey into it. I'll go over it with another colour just to make sure it's not just one sort of grey area. I'm just trying to tone it down. You can leave a little bit of light just to the right hand side, as though it's catching a little bit of reflected light down there, but generally just tone that down. I'll run some more colour in so that it's not that subdued. So I'm just going to now run I'll just drop the pastel. You know, I drop pastels all over, and then I stand on them, and then I walk them all over the floor. Right, so I've toned it down with a grey, and I'm just doing a slight soft, very fine grey, just dragged over, and putting a little bit more pressure on just where it's coming down into the light from the background lights there. Doesn't want to be that solid. Just some traces of it. That's it. Now with the tree, just suggest a little bit of stronger shadow, just sort of drifting up. So tie the tree to the ground, and just a little sense of shadow off that. Want a bit of reflection coming down here, but not a lot, just into the water. So just downward strokes, just to create that sort of blur of light, just like that. So just creating a blur of light into that area there. And I don't want it to be too much blur, too much reflection down here. I want that just to stay. I'm just going to darken that patch up there. I want that to stay just like toned down. I don't want it to be bright. I want that just to be a lighter, darker area, so that there's not a lot of reflection. You can suggest a little bit off the tree trunk, but to be quite honest, I'd be wary of it. I'll just put a little bit down there, but I'm going to then blur it because I don't want anything too solid down there, too dark down there. Now we've got the white going across the edge of this area here, so you've got the white just coming in, picking out the odd little lighted area at the top, so just a little bit of light area where the snow is sort of drifting in, and just dust a few bits over here and there. A bit harder on the top edge, and just a bit, because I want to put some foliage in down here, so I don't want this to be, it can't be bright white, it's night time, so don't even attempt to get this bright white. Just dusting little bits over there, and using a little bit of sort of greyish blue, just get a little sense of reflection down here off some of the snow, just where it's clumped, just there, just a little touch. And you can do a little touch just down underneath here, so leave the black and just with the side of a pencil just drag down a pastel, just drag down a little sense of reflected light off the snow. You don't want too much, you don't want to get everything in the road, but what you do need is a sharp darker line under the bottom of the snow here. That's quite dark, that. I'll use that in there. So you've got a darker edge here, a definite edge under that pack of snow, and then with the same one colour used over there, just go into that dark and just pull down slightly. So you're just creating a little softness in the end. What you don't want is the line to be jumping out too severe, so you're just sort of tracing over it from the snow, through it a bit, but not putting a lot of great pressure onto it, and just getting that down there. That looks all right. Now what we need, I'm just going to put a little bit of light in that tree there. I want the tree to stand out, that's the problem, but I don't want it to dominate. I want it to be there, but I don't want it to dominate the whole thing. I think that one there looks fine. Right, what you've got now is a lot of grasses, etc., from the bank that you stood on looking out. So you want some of them in, and you can use a black or a dark. I haven't got a black, but I've got a very dark umber, and you can just sort of just get some lines flicked in. I'm going to put some lighter ones into there, just the odd ones just coming through, just a quick sort of tracing. Don't obliterate your snow over here, just take some through here and there, and you don't need to go right along with this, just as though you've got a corner area here, so it would be taller just here. Put it in dark, you're going to crisscross a few colours into here so that you get it to stand out, and then just as you're coming farther over to the left, just start reducing them so you get an angle down. Like I say, I don't want to take a dark thing right across here. I'm quite happy. Actually, there is a bit of snow down in that corner out in the bottom bank, so I'll have a look at it. But what you've got to be careful of is doing anything down here that distracts the eye. So, like I said, just a few little flicks, and then we'll put some other colours in to break it up. So you want some lighter browns and umbers in, so that it's not just a black line. So a nice umber, and just sort of trace into that and crisscross it so you get you're getting grasses growing at different angles. Everything isn't just straight up. You know, I'm not too sure about this, whether I want the... I'll tell you what, I'm not happy having them. I think they're a distraction. I'm going to just get rid of them because I've decided they are just a bit of a distraction. So I'm going to tone them down. I'm just going to blur into them with the side of a dark pastel because I think it's a distraction to the picture. Might be alright where they took the photograph, but I don't like it. I don't like it. I think it's just too much. So I'm just darkening along the edge of the water and pulling the lines down, and then I'll put water, snow in across the top of them. You can change your mind, you know. A little bit of grey in there. I don't mind leaving a little sort of feel of stuff, but I just felt that was just a bit too severe. And a little touch of white just over the top of some of them edges. Right, I need to put some colour back into this bit down the bottom which I obliterated. Like I say, you can't use white. It's just too strong for a night snow. But I've just got to using a very pale bluey grey and just get rid of them stems of grasses I put in. Just drifted over the dark. What you don't want is the dark lines that you put underneath to be too severe. So I'm just drifting bluey green as though there's a shadow, you know, the snow is clumped and forming a little bit of shadow down the bottom side. And then with a slightly darker colouring, just, I'm finding a slightly darker colouring, folks. Just pull a little bit of reflection down. I'm just tracing it, really, just tracing it. I will need to put a slightly darker line just under these edges where I sort of wipe the grasses out. She's noisy down there, isn't she? Once she starts cutting mounts and knocking frames out, can I stop her? Right, a little bit of dark in there. Right, I'm just going to drag over that blues. I've gone with just a very light grey just to create a little bit of snow into there. But I'm doing it in such a sort of a soft stroke. There are some grasses on that snow, but I'm not too sure I want to put them in. I think anything I put in there might just, I don't know whether it will, whether I should put some grasses in. I'll try it with a pencil just to see. Well, it might work, just a few. What you don't want is too big and too much, just a few. And this is just a pastel pencil, just a few quick strokes just to give it a sense of bits of grasses on the bank. Just helps break up that big clump. One or two over there as well. In fact, when you get up to here, you could probably lift one or two just out into the water above it with a lighter one. So you can probably just lift one or two just to break that line up. One or two grasses just there like that. I think that's all right. You don't want too much. Right. Just want to create a few more brighter lights coming down from the reflection behind. So I just want to put one or two more just down into there, just little touches. Just little touches, and just create a few lighter ones just where I rubbed that out, just a few lighter ones just over there onto that area. Right, what we want is people in. There's people in this picture walking with brollies, etc. I don't know how we'll get them in, so we'll put them in if we can. I want a dark pastel pencil. I'm just going to use this this marl stick so that I don't rest on the pastel. Figures want to be small, don't make them too big. Just dots, and then we'll put a little bit of light above them, and we'll put some brollies in. Now put the brollies in dark, so a dark shape, and then you can actually highlight them a little bit. There's nobody over this side. Oh, there's somebody there. Just dark shape, and then you can highlight some of the brollies, just give them a little bit of colour. Little splash of red or orange. Oh, give this person here one. I think that's all right on there. Just drawing on one or two stones. Got to be careful, I don't want to do too much with this. Have a look. I don't know. I'm going to put a bit of snow in down here and then decide whether I want to leave it in. So I'm just going to put a sort of a clump coming in from the corner here. I mean, it'll not go all the way down because there's a mount to go over this, but just putting a little bit of a clump in. Not too bright, otherwise it will distract from the thing. I'll have to clear up this floor before I even attempt to walk out this gallery. I think that looks all right. Can you see that on the picture? Or I'm not too far down. Couldn't see it, sorry. All I've done is just use a bit of bluey grey. I'll just trace a little bit of white over it, just very lightly. I think that's all right. I don't think it's pulling the eye too much, as long as you don't make it too bright. Put a mount around it just to see what the effect would be on the bottom area. A lot of the pastels now, I'm not actually putting mounts around some of them. We're framing them with museum glass dead close up. I think that looks all right, the mount around it. After I've looked at it, if I thought it was too distracting, I'll just wipe it out. Maybe put a couple of grasses in down there. I've got to be careful that you don't do too much with it. One or two just light ripples through them blacks just to tone it down. You know, you can go too far with these pictures sometimes. But to be honest, I think that's about it. That's that to me. Like I said, what I will do is I do look at them, and then if I feel I need to do anything else, I come back and do it. I might put a couple of brighter lights just into there a bit. You can do too many, you've got to be dead careful. Less is more. Is that a saying? Less is more, something like that. I'm going to put a tree branch over this side because it does look a bit lost just over this. So I'm going to fetch a tree from this tree. I'm going to fetch a branch just through there like that. Just take it off and just use a bit of a pencil just to break up that too much blur just there, and add just a little sense of snow onto parts of it. I think that's it. I think it's done. I'll move it back from the camera so you can see the whole thing. Lower it down. Turn it the right angle. I think that's all right. Yeah, I think that looks fine. I'm quite sort of pleased. Janet, thanks, Eric. Hope you get your shirt and floor clean. Yeah, I know. I'll have to clean it before I leave the area I'm painting. Otherwise, I will travel black pencil, white pencil, and yellow pencil all over the place. Yeah, it looks fine. I think it looks nice. I think I'm okay with this down here. I'll see what it's like with the mount, but I definitely wasn't happy with these big grasses down here. I thought they were just a distraction. The main focus to me is on this area, with the white snow helping to make the glow look better. I think it's all fine. I think it's all right. I don't think it's all right. Wait a sec. Just want a bit more. I think it's all right now. Right, I think that'll be it. That's New York by night. Now, I won't be here. Wait a second, I'll turn to the camera. I won't be here on Monday morning or Tuesday, but we'll be back on Wednesday night. Are we on the right camera here? Can you see me? Yeah. We'll be back on Wednesday night at home, doing something. Oh, we'll be finishing off the cheetah, yeah. And Thursday morning we'll start a new one. Friday I'll be down here doing something. So we'll leave it at that for now. So you can see that picture. I think that looks fine. I think anything down here is a distraction if you put too many lights in. I don't know whether to tone that down or not. I'll see. We'll get a mount cut and see what it looks like. Right, okay then, I think that's probably it. I know it's a shorter one, just an hour, but that's all it was, just to finish it. Anything else I do now is just adding to stuff that doesn't need adding to. And I'm going to do that. When I've even said that, I'm going to just do something. If I can find a pencil. Just put a few more branches in there. But that is done. That is done. I'm locking up now. Right. We'll see you anon. So that'll go on the website after, and I'll send you the video later. So I'm going to clean up. My hands are filthy, my shirt's filthy. Thanks, Janet. Ken Tooby, what's Ken saying? I can't see for other things. Thanks, Eric. You're doing the sky again. All right, what are you doing? Lightening it up or what? Don't try and make these too sharp, because you just want them to be a blur in the background. If you try making them too sharp, they stand out too much. And don't, if you're putting a lighter sky in or whatever, still blur it a little bit at the edges. See what it does. Right, we'll see you later then, folks. There's nothing else messaging there. So I'll just clear the outro and I shall see you anon. The outro isn't working. I don't know why. Right, the outro's not working. Nothing's working. It's still there though. Right, I'm just going to turn it off because I can't. I'm going to turn it off in a minute. There we go. Right, that looks fine. See you later, folks. Bye.